founder of Fair Cop, Harry Miller. Good afternoon to you, Harry.
Unbelievable that we're here again talking about this, Julia.
I know. Although it's a pleasure for us because we get to talk with you. I saw you earlier this week at the Free...
It's absolutely... But I'm getting... You know, we've just had... Fair Cop's just had its 5th anniversary, and we are getting absolutely sick of doing the job that is supposed to be the job of chief constables controlled by the police and crimes commissioners. And it's just not happening. There is a cosy relationship between chief constables and PCCs, which we think is entirely unhealthy.
Well, and the police and crime commissioners are supposed to be holding... No, that the PCCs are supposed to be holding... They're supposed to be elected, although barely anyone votes for them, to hold the chief constables to account, so we get sort of policing that we care about. I just think... I saw the Free Speech Union earlier this week. They have their 4th anniversary in existence. You and I are both members. But it is extraordinary, isn't it, that they said that 40% of their case they deal with are on gender-critical things. Now, you are part of this new manifesto for police and crime commissioners put together along with Keep Prisons Single Sex, who we've dealt with many times over the years as well. And I find it extraordinary that any organisation, anyone, should be calling on the police to ensure that, and the justice system to ensure that only women go into women's prisons. I mean, we had this big debate over when Nicola Sturgeon was First Minister of Scotland. It was part of the sort of the reason for her downfall, many think, that this idea of putting men convicted of rape into prison cells alongside women, particularly vulnerable women behind bars. And this was being justified by a senior female politician. I think we found absolutely extraordinary. And yet we're still having this battle.
Yeah, I know. And this is what happens when you prioritise people's feelings and perceptions of reality over actual reality. Look, if you think you're Napoleon, that's absolutely fine. Society will accommodate you to a certain extent. But if you want to get everybody to sign up with you and go to Waterloo, then we're going to have to say, no, reality is going to take precedent over your imagination. And JK Rowling was absolutely 100% right in calling India Willoughby a man, because India Willoughby is a man. Now, that is going to be one hell of a rumble in the jungle up in the tomb, because, of course, that's when India Willoughby comes from. And Vanessa Jardine, the chief constable of Northumbria, is absolutely up to her eyeballs in trans ideology. This is the fort, if you remember, that colluded with Newcastle United to get a lesbian woman banned from the ground for 3 years and was arrested because she said, this is your daily reminder that trans women are men. Yeah. And because she had the audacity to separate the LGB from the T. So it's going to be one hell of a fight up there.
It is. Well, let me, Harry, stop for a second, because I wanted to come on to that, but I wanted to explain it all first, because most people, unlike us, have got lives, worthwhile jobs, kids to take to school and the like, and they're not sitting on Twitter seeing these sort of battles. Most people won't know, for instance, and lucky them, who India Willoughby even is, although they will know JK Rowling because she's a proud transphobe. Oh, no, sorry, she's one of the most successful authors this country has ever had and a hero to many, but no, falsely, completely libellously called a transphobe by many on social media. Let me just explain the background to this. India Willoughby is someone who's very prolific on social media, weirdly does things like writes things about me all the time, but blocks me so I can't see it. I'm not that bothered. I think it's all rather laughable. But constantly tweeting about or at JK Rowling, and has accused JK Rowling of a hate crime. Here is what India Willoughby had to say about JK Rowling in an interview with Byline Times.
I have reported JK Rowling to the police for what she said, which I don't know if that's going to be treated as a hate crime, malicious communications, but it's a cut and dried offence as far as I'm concerned.
A hate crime, a cut and dried offence, according to India Willoughby, who is living as a trans woman and therefore, by definition, is a man, because that's what a trans woman is. India Willoughby says, in a longer excerpt from that, I've got a birth certificate and a passport that says that legally, of my gender recognition certificate, I am a woman. Now, legally, India Willoughby can be given a woman recognition, woman status by the state, but that doesn't change India Willoughby's innate biology and the fact that India Willoughby was born a man, and it doesn't change the now legally protected gender-critical belief, I would say not a belief, but knowledge, that no one can change their sex. You can call yourself whatever you want. I can call myself a mug of tea, but it doesn't make me a mug of tea. I'm still a human being. I'm still a woman. Do you think India Willoughby has a chance in hell of getting this case? Or do you think that actually Northumbria Police, as you say, are so PC and insane on this stuff, they will actually send police round to JK Rowling's home to question her about a supposed hate crime of calling a man a man?
Yeah, well, I'm going to get the popcorn in and watch this with great interest, because you're absolutely right. She could not have picked, India Willoughby could not have picked a better force than Northumbria. But India Willoughby in that clip says this is a hate crime. No, a hate crime, first and foremost, has to have a crime. And then once you've established that there is a crime, then you attach a hate element to it as part of the motivation. There is no such thing as a crime of misgendering somebody, none whatsoever. So India Willoughby doesn't stand a cat in hell's chance of making this one fly. What India Willoughby will be able to do is harness Northumbria Police and a sympathetic chief constable to give grief to JK Rowling. But that's it. It will not go to court. If it did go to court, it would be thrown out. But nevertheless, we've come to a position now where the process is the punishment. Yep. All you need to do is kick off, shout the word hate crime, hate crime, hate crime, and then the police are too pig ignorant to do anything about it. I was on a hate crime training course last week, delivered by Staffordshire, where we were told that a woman who recognises male footsteps and takes protective measures for herself is the equivalent of a racist, because she's practicing her unconscious bias against men.
Wow.
This is the sort of nonsense
when by the way, every single woman does that. You're walking home at night, you look round, is it a man or woman? But there's a way that men and women do walk differently, different kinds of shoes, also different bodies, the way they move. You will be aware somehow that that is a male person and therefore a potential threat, or which is almost like the reason why we don't want them in our changing rooms and our toilets and behind bars with vulnerable women.
Exactly. There are certain forms of unconscious bias which are actually very good and very, very safe. That is a case in point. But Staffordshire Police equated that with racism. And Northumbria Police are a very similar ilk. You and I are transphobes. We are de facto criminals as far as Northumbria are concerned. And India Willoughby is the height of femininity, according to Vanessa Jardine. And
I'd like to point out that India Willoughby has, in tweets to me and about me, pointed out particularly unflattering photograph of myself, I don't know if there are flattering ones, and a photograph of India, pointing out that actually I would be far more likely to be questioned about my gender than India Willoughby would. I resisted the urge, because I'm well brought up, to ask us to compare cervixes, because I thought I might have won that argument at least. But look, here's the thing. Lots of people think this is all nonsense. Of course, it doesn't matter. But the reality is, and you at Fair Cop and the Free Speech Union and those working at Sex Matters, from Maya Forstatter, Helen Joyce and others, and JK Rowling has been a fighter on this issue. You know the reality of this is that people do get questioned by the police. People lose their jobs over these things. People are told they're transphobic. They are branded bigots when all they've said is, I refuse, as JK Rowling has said she is unwilling to do, and I stand by her 100%, and I'm also unwilling to do, I refuse to be forced to tell a lie. And indeed, in a number of tweets JK sent last night, she said, aware as I am that it's an offence to lie to law enforcement, I'll simply have to explain to the police that in my view, that's her view, she says India is a classic example of the male narcissist who lives in a state of perpetual rage that he can't compel women to take him at his own valuation. Now, that is India's view. That is not the view of talkTV, I must stress here. But JK Rowling says lawyers had advised her that she had a clearly winnable case against India Willoughby for defamation. Now, some of us have been urging people like JK, you've got the money, you've got the time, you've got the media profile, to bring these sort of cases, to establish in law that, that you can't sack people, that you can't. Do you think we're ever going to get some sanity on this?
I think we are going to get some sanity, because eventually biology is going to win. Reality is transphobic and reality will win. It's as simple as that. But we can speed up the process if police and crimes commissioners did their job, if we had sensible hate crime training, which actually focused on the crime element of it rather than the so-called hate element of it. And if we just expunged entirely this political nonsense from policing, that's all Fair Cop wants to do. We want a police force that operates without fear, without favour, without any political symbology around it whatsoever, and that recognises reality. It's not a big ask, Julia. That's all we want.
No, it really isn't, is it? Thank you. Harry Miller, former police officer, of course, founder of Fair Cop.